Happy Wednesday, everybody. Sports guy Chris checking in with another bubble update after what was an eventful and, of course, another busy night in the world of college basketball last night. We had several teams in action that, of course, helped their chances and also hurt their chances of receiving an at-large bid to the big dance. There's plenty to cover, so let's jump right into it. One team I want to start with and talk about in particular is the team that you could say scored the biggest W of the night last night, and that was the Tennessee Volunteers. So, congratulations to the Vols, who have basically played themselves right back onto the bubble. They went into Lexington last night and took care of the Kentucky Wildcats, who were ranked number 6 going into the game and on quite a hot streak as of late. And they were able to actually erase a 17-point deficit in that game at Rupp Arena and rally back for an 81-73 victory. That's on the heels of their last win being a big home victory over Florida, who, of course, should be in the tournament as well. The Gators stumbling a little bit, but they have very strong metrics and a strong resume. They should still be in the tournament, probably a 9 or 10 seed at the moment. So these two W's have kind of vaulted Tennessee back into the conversation. I don't think they're in yet. They're now 9-8 in the SEC, so winning record in the SEC, 17-13 overall. The metrics did get a big boost, so they're at a 57 net rating right now, and the strength of schedule is a very solid 36. This team does still, have an opportunity. We'll see what they can do going down the stretch if they can take care of business and keep winning. Of course, last night's big road win, Quadrant 1 victory at Kentucky, gets them back in. So I will touch on in a moment where that lands them as far as the overall bubble goes at the moment. Some other big games last night. The other, I would say, team that maybe helped their cause the most as far as being one of the real bubble teams here were the Texas Longhorns, who went into Oklahoma, of course, for a big game in the Big 12. And they were able to scratch and claw their way to a 52-51 victory over the Sooners. That's now the 5th straight W for the Longhorns as they are trying to make a late push and get into the tournament. And in now 3 straight, as a matter of fact, over teams that most likely are going to be in the tournament. Following up a home victory over West Virginia, who despite the Mountaineers' struggles, very strong metrics, great overall resume. They're going to be in the tournament. And then the game prior to this one was at Texas Tech over the weekend. They won that one by 10 in Lubbock. So the Longhorns are cruising right now. That gets them the 9-8 Big 12 play, 19-11 overall, number 55 net rating, and a 31 strength of schedule. So the Longhorns right now are looking very good on the heels of last night's victory. And again, they're 5th in a row. 3 of those have come on the road. So exactly what you'd want on a team right now that's trying to impress the committee and make a late push. That actually has jumped Texas all the way up. I have them as the first team out as of the moment right now. I necessarily wouldn't have a big problem with them even being in after that victory. They do have a couple of bad losses on their resume from earlier in the year, so I think they do need to keep winning to kind of, counterbalance those. But a big victory for the Longhorns last night nonetheless has jumped them all the way up to the first team out as of right now. Speaking of the first 4 out, right behind them are the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue went to Iowa and got a big victory. That was a Quadrant 1 win. That was a big road win over a ranked team. And don't look now, but Purdue, who you just, you want to write them off. Now they're 9-10 in the Big 10, 16-14 overall. Not real glamorous, but a very solid 33 net ranking. And their strength of schedule is all the way up to number 5, believe it or not. So the Boilermakers continue to sit there with very, very strong metrics, making their case, for a push as well. Now, I think they're going to have to keep winning as well. You look at the record, 16-14. Certainly, that's usually traditionally not quite as good as what we see the committee, give an at-large bid to. But Boilermakers could win their last game, get in the Big Ten tournament, win a game there. And then if they were to lose to, say, one of the better teams in the conference, a Michigan State or a a Maryland or a Wisconsin or whoever, teams that are going to definitely be in the tournament that have been playing really good as of late. It's going to be interesting to see what the committee does with Purdue, because that net ranking isn't going to move probably too far down no matter what goes on the rest of the way. They should end up somewhere in the 30s, and with a couple more victories, they could be even, crack the top 30 in that net ranking. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening with the Boilermakers, but a big victory last night got them going. So a couple of other bubble teams that got wins last night, but won't necessarily help their resumes. The Cincinnati Bearcats needed to keep winning. They did just that at South Florida. They won 79-67, of course. They were favored to win that game and needed to get it done, and they did. It's not necessarily going to help give them a boost to their resume at all, but, it avoids that, dreaded bad loss, which they really can't afford this time of year. And then another team from the conference that was in action as well, or not from that conference, excuse me, from the Atlantic 10 was Richmond. Richmond got a W over Davidson. They were at home in that game, 80-63. So they took care of business in dominant fashion as they were supposed to. Again, not another win that's necessarily going to, make or break the resume or give it a big boost. But again, if they were to lose that game at home, it would have been a bad loss. So Richmond avoiding that as well. They remain in the last four bye category for me as of right now. The strength of schedule is a little lacking at 94. The net is still very solid at 42. If you go off the RPI, that's solid as well. I like what they were able to do in their non-conference, and I like some of the road wins they were, able to get as well this season. I still think the resume and the record is good enough to have Richmond out of that last four in territory. They're bouncing all over. I've seen them as high as a 10. I've seen them first four out and even past that. So they're one of those teams that's going to be kind of interesting to keep our eyes on and see where the committee, ends up going with the Spiders. So as of right now, they're in last four bye territory. For me, I'd have them as an 11 seed, right along with Wichita State, UCLA, and Xavier at the moment. So two other games I'd like to touch on, two other bubble teams that were affected from last night's action. Alabama was in action again, and they dropped a game at home to Vanderbilt, which qualifies as one of those bad losses. And unfortunately, it dropped the Crimson Tide to a losing record in conference play at 8-9, and now they're just 16-14 overall. But they don't have nearly the sparkling metric numbers that Purdue does, owning that same 16-14 overall record. So net is just 52 now, strength of schedule 42, which is still solid, but home loss, and it wasn't even close to Vanderbilt, has left Alabama a ways back now on the bubble and with a lot of work to do. So one other team that was able to get a win, Duquesne actually has got themselves back into the bubble mix. They've been gone for a while, but I tell you what, they were able to go on the road, defeat VCU. VCU is already probably off the bubble, but if there were any fading hopes of them getting an at-large bid, they were definitely, they're definitely done after last night. Duquesne took care of that with the 80-77 overtime victory at VCU. So big win for them. The reason Duquesne jumps back in there is they're still in the mix in the A-10. They're 11-6 in the conference. Dayton's going to win the conference, but they could still finish second. And they're 21-8 overall, but they're 6-3 on the road. So it'll be interesting to see. That's a very solid road record in a year where road victories have been tough to come by in general in college basketball. It's even more so when you look inside of the better conferences, the Big Ten in particular, where a road win has been very, very difficult to come by, which leads me to Rutgers, who I already had in. I didn't have them back in last four territory or first four out like I'm seeing them. I know they need to probably at least get some kind of significant road neutral floor victory here before it's all said and done to feel a little more secure. But they were able to beat Maryland at home last night, so another big victory for them. That victory keeps them out of even the last four bye territory for me. I've got Rutgers up around the 9 or 10 line. So big win for them last night. And several other teams out there on the bubble. Plenty of action, of course, tonight. So I will definitely be back tomorrow morning with another bubble update, giving you the full rundown. So as of right now, the last four heading into tonight would be Rhode Island, Indiana, Arizona State, and Stanford. One note out of those four, Rhode Island's in action tonight at home with a huge, massive game against Dayton. This is a big opportunity for the Rams. If they can win this game on their home floor, Dayton, of course, has only lost 2 games all season long, and they haven't lost an A-10 game yet. And we're right down to the end of the regular season schedule. So, needless to say, the importance of this game for the Rams is massive. So, keep an eye on that one tonight. First 4 out, I've got Texas as the first team out, followed by Purdue, Cincinnati, and NC State. That's how it's shaping up right now. That next group of category in order would be these teams. I've got 10 that are still maybe clinging to bubble hope here, starting with Utah State, Mississippi State, the aforementioned Tennessee Volunteers, Memphis, Arkansas, Alabama, Duquesne, Furman, and then Tulsa and Georgetown still kind of barely clinging to life there at the back end. So that's it for me today, everybody. A full bubble rundown. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another update. I hope you all have a great Wednesday. Enjoy all the games tonight. Sports Guy Chris coming at you, and I'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Have a great one, everybody.